Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. Recently, I went through and requested to join a ton, a ton of Facebook groups from my burner account. A lot of you are saying how much you enjoy these Facebook group deep dive videos, and so I've tried to join as many as I can who will have me. They all ask really weird questions when you join, so I have to put on my thinking cap and decide how to respond to them. They ask questions like, what does God mean to you? And I have to sit here and be like, okay, I've got to think about what God means to me. But one group that I encountered that I obviously had to join is one called Raising a Grown Man. And the about for the group says, welcome to your safe zone and survival guide to raising your own special edition grown man. On a real note, we love our men, even when they get on our last nerve. While we may get frustrated, we are ultimately a support group. So yeah, I saw this and naturally was like, oh my God, let me in. This seems like such a place to find some content. I want in on the gossip. I want to be seeing how people are talking about their husbands in this way because we love this type of content, right? And so when I got accepted, I was so excited to go in here. I was so excited to have a look and a laugh at all of these relationships and all these people and come here and make a silly, fun little video. I wasn't actually expecting what this group was. There is a lot of lighter, more fun, haha content in here, but there's also so much that made me so sad. I cried going through this group. I triggered myself a couple of times. There was 3 posts in a row that were major whiplash. I was all over the place. And it's not what I was expecting. After reading 5 posts in a row that were just detailing abuse, I was like, I came here for a silly haha time. That is not the vibe. But I'm going to be keeping the more heavy triggering topics for the end. I will put appropriate trigger warnings when we get there. But for now, we're going to start with some stuff that's just that you'd expect to find in a group by this title. So first up, we have this one. I don't know what I'm looking for. Advice? Vent? Backstory. My GM obsessed with the fact that a lot of these women just refer to their partners as grown men. Not my husband, not my partner, not my boyfriend, but my grown man. My grown man and I have been married for almost 6 years, together for 7. My husband and I used to work together, and one of the managers gave me the ick. She was overly nice to the men employees and such. I spoke privately to my grown man about how it makes me uncomfortable, and I set clear boundaries. He said he understands, respects it well, fast. There's no punctuation in here, and it is making it so hard to read. He said he understands, respects it. Well, fast forward, I left, he stayed, all was fine. Almost a year had passed. Well, about a month ago, he left his phone on the bed and he got a notification from Snapchat. No biggie. He has a group chat from work. I look and it's a personal snap from that female. You've said all you need to say here. I already feel like I'm not going to be on your side. You come in here and you call another woman that female. I'm not on your side. So I opened it and it's a snap of her fully clothed saying it's a beautiful day. I waited till he got out of the shower and point blank asked him why she was snapping him, and that crosses a boundary. He apologized, swears up and down he doesn't know how she got added, and said maybe it auto-added cause the work group chat. I called bullshit. He begged he didn't know and immediately deleted her and handed me his phone to go through it. I didn't find anything, so I let it go, but watched him. His movements, checked his phone randomly, nothing. Well, he left that job. I went back and was added to said chat, then texted him today telling him I've been in that chat for a week and no one was added to my account without me adding them. He swears up and down he doesn't know how it happened. I told him it was really odd the one person I say I don't like is somehow added. Very odd. Now, 4 hours has gone by and radio silence. He is at work, but I know he can text me back if he wanted. I honestly don't know what to think. This man has been so good to me, treats me well, speaks to me, never yells at me, never has given me a reason to doubt him, but I don't know how to explain this. First and foremost, A group chat for work on Snapchat is wild. Like, especially in 2025. Apparently people still use Snapchat. This is absolutely news to me. But supposedly that's still a thing. Clearly it is. And regardless, Snapchat for a work group that includes your boss, why? Like, why? What job do you do? What work do you have? We have a group Snapchat. I can't imagine anything worse. Why is that how you're communicating with your colleagues? And if there's a group chat on Snapchat and that is for some reason how everyone is communicating, then surely it makes sense that he would also talk to his other colleagues through Snapchat. And the whole thing of Snapchat is sending photos. That's how you talk to each other, right? Like, sending a fully clothed photo just saying beautiful day, that's not flirting or anything. That's literally just using Snapchat. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't understand the issue with that at all. Like, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, sure, maybe he shouldn't have lied and been like, oh, I didn't add her. But it kind of seems like you're a little bit possessive in this relationship. And like, he may not have lied out of the fact he was cheating on you and more out of the fact that you scare him. I don't think that's a healthy relationship in general. I think that you are being very overbearing. I don't think he did literally anything wrong. Like, yeah, okay, he shouldn't have lied. But like, a boundary being don't talk to this person that you work with, period. Not great, you know? You should let people have friends, especially when they are people that you work with. And wasn't his boss even? Yeah, a manager too. So he can't not speak to her anyway. You went through his phone, firstly, big red flag. Don't do that. You accused him of lying. You are like accusing him of so much shit and he's telling you he is not doing anything and you are just not accepting it. You are at fault here. Like, maybe he shouldn't have lied, sure. But like, overall, your behavior is so much worse than his. It's honestly so frustrating that my partner doesn't initiate every day, knowing we have free time and alone time every morning. I initiated yesterday and he did the day before, and now he went to the car wash. I can do it every day and it upsets me he just went without wanting sex first. What person won't think about having sex with their spouse when you only have alone time in the mornings? Hey, whoa, you are not entitled to sex. You are absolutely not entitled to that. You had sex the past 2 mornings. He initiated, then you initiated, and now you're here like, why did he just get up and leave without having sex in the morning? Why doesn't he want to have sex? He did yesterday and the day before. Most people don't want to be having sex every single day. That is not how most people's libidos work. Like, we all have different sex drives and different libidos and want things at different times. And he clearly just doesn't want that today. And you aren't entitled to that. You're like complaining like this is a problem in which like he's broken. Like you're like, why doesn't he love me? Why isn't he attracted to me? Why doesn't he want to have sex? He does. Clearly. Look at yesterday and the day before. You don't need to have sex every day. I promise. You're okay. You are not entitled to anyone's body. You are not entitled to your partner's body. They do not owe you sex. Having sex is not a way to validate yourself and your worth. One thing I do like about this group though, is that I spend a lot of time in these shitty mom groups, right? Like the estranged mother groups and the like Christian mother groups and whatever. And they're always backing each other up, no matter how problematic what they say is. I'm always hopeful to go into the comments and have them calling each other out. But they never do. They're always supporting each other literally no matter what horrific shit they say. However, in this group, that's not the case. The women here are genuinely actually very helpful. Like, this post has only 8 likes, but it has 104 comments. And all of those comments are calling her out and saying like, hey man, whoa, you aren't entitled to sex. All 104 comments are being like, shut the fuck up. And I love that. I'm glad that these women are actually here and actually being real. Because on all the posts that are saying like that are about abuse and opening up about these issues, there are also like dozens and dozens to hundreds of comments of women like offering support and advice. It seems like a good community. Although a lot of the posts are not great, there is a good community here. And I do appreciate that about this group. Like this comment that says, wow, this is nuts to me. You are not entitled to sex and not everyone has a libido like this. What I don't understand is why you're talking like he's broken. Wow, just wow. Which, yeah, very valid point. And she came back and said, because I found out he watched porn 3 days in a row when he would get home from work. So that means he can orgasm 3 days in a row. Why not with me? Those are not the same. It's not the same. And also, just because he did that one time doesn't mean he wants to do that all the time. You're like, he orgasmed 3 days in a row one time in the past. Why wouldn't you do that with me every single day now? Girl. Wanting to like get off 3 days in a row after work by yourself really quickly versus every single morning with a partner, like they're not the same thing. They're not comparable. And they don't necessarily apply to every single day. Also, just because he can get off 3 days in a row doesn't mean he wants to. Not relevant. Listen to all the people in your comments because you're in the wrong here. Am I the asshole? I'll make it as short as possible. My mother-in-law moved in with us a while back. Well, kind of. If she doesn't have work, she's at her boyfriend's and spends the night there, but she leaves her cat here. I have an issue with this because for the past months, I've been the only one feeding this cat, taking care of it, and having to deal with the behavioral issues this lady gave him. I tried talking to my husband about it, and his reply was, so? You live here, he lives here, I don't see the issue. I'm getting real sick and tired of having to deal with this cat. Let's start with she taught him how to get on the table, so now I can't cut my food there because he grabs the raw meat, and that's disgusting. I can't serve that anymore. He needs his bowl of food changed every 2 hours because he finishes and will meow and meow and meow till you refill it. He poops every hour, and I have to change that litter box every 12 hours. If you don't refill his food immediately, he finds the cat food bag, then goes into it and makes noises and meows. It's borderline screaming. If anything is on the table, he's going to knock it off. I'm so close to not caring for this cat anymore, but it's not his fault his owner doesn't care. My grown man apparently thinks it's okay and it wouldn't bother me. When my cat died in May of last year, I said I'd never get another one, but now I'm forced to take care of this one. Do everything for it, and whenever she wants to take him, he'll be gone. This truly is so unfair. You're absolutely not the asshole in this situation. Like, it's so unfair to be left with the responsibility for a pet that is not yours. Like, you are being left with the responsibility of a pet that you did not want. And as you say, like, if you form an emotional attachment to this pet, like, and look after it and care for it and give it love, it's going to be taken away. You can't even form like a close bond with that pet because it's not yours and it's going to be taken away from you. And that's really upsetting. And the fact this man is like, so why are you complaining? You fucking do it then, bro. Like, it's your mom's cat. His mom leaves his cat with them, and then his wife starts looking after it, feeding it, cleaning the litter box, doing everything. And her husband's like, it's not a big deal. Just get over it. If it's not a big deal, then you can fucking do it. If it's not a big deal, then why aren't you doing any of that? It's your mom's cat. If anyone should be taking responsibility here, it should be you. Astounding. Ridiculous. So frustrating. This man needs to take responsibility. This mother-in-law needs to take responsibility. You can't just like bring a pet into someone's house and then expect them to look after it. And then also, like, you're living with them too. Like, is she contributing anything to the household, or is she just leaving you to look after a cat and taking advantage of you? Any other stay-at-home mums' husbands constantly tell them they have all day or you're home all day, like all the time. It makes me so mad, like sends me into a rage. He acts like I just have this infinite amount of time and has no idea how strategic I have to be to do and get anything done. For context, we have 2 bathrooms. One is his and one is mine and the kids. His is in our room where no one can annoy and bother him. I got up with the kids while he kept sleeping. I made breakfast, packed his lunch, cleaned the kitchen, did 2 loads of laundry, folded the laundry, all before he got out of bed. Right as I set the kids up with a morning activity so I could shower. He comes out to use the main bathroom. I was getting my shower ready and just got in. Said I have all day to shower. Has he ever stayed home alone with the kids? No. So I probably won't get another opportunity to take my shower until mid-afternoon if I'm lucky. And we need to leave the house in 20 minutes. He is still in the shower. Also, before you ask why I don't use his, I shower with the door open because I still have little kids and I can peek my head out every 2 minutes to check on them. I can't use our master shower and keep an eye on the kids. Why didn't he just use his own shower? He literally has his own shower. And instead he went in and used yours whilst you were getting ready to get in it yourself. That is deliberately cruel. Like, what was the reason for that other than to belittle you? Like, there was literally no reason other than to come in and be like, you can do this whenever you want, so I get priority. Bro, you have a shower. Like, the least you can do is watch your kids while your wife showers. Honestly, like, you can shower in your own room since she keeps the door open to keep an eye on her kids and shower at the same time, which she should not have to do since her husband is in the house presently. If he just woke up like 5 minutes earlier, she should be able to shower in peace while he looks after the kids for 5 minutes and then takes his own shower. Like, it doesn't have to be this way. If he really badly wants to use that bathroom, he can wake up, I don't know how long his shower takes, 5-10 minutes early and have a shower before. Like, I'm sorry. This is unacceptable. This is so not okay. And these men coming in here and being like, you have all day to do everything. What do you notice gets done around the house? Everything that happens, all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the childcare, all the groceries, like everything that happens so that you can come home and be comfortable and never lift a finger, that happens because your wife is there all day. And if you want that to keep happening, you have to stop disrespecting her and telling her she's doing nothing. Because wait until she does nothing. I'm sure you'll notice then. And I'm sure you're not going to want to do it for yourself. I honestly just think in these situations, like, you need to have a conversation and explain how it makes you feel and the fact that he's belittling you and it's not okay, and talk about how hard it actually is. And if he continues to belittle you, honestly, like, I know that so many of these women don't have the choice because obviously they're stay-at-home mothers and their husbands are who bring in all the money. So thus they can get away with doing whatever the fuck they want because they know that their wives can't leave and won't. But like, it gets to a point where it genuinely just feels like you have an extra child, thus raising a grown man, because they act petty and they do things to deliberately make your life harder. And it would honestly just be easier if he wasn't there. Like, you're already doing everything for yourself and your kids, and then you also have to do everything for him and extra because he's deliberately making your life harder. Like, it would be easier without him. But unfortunately, that's not how it works because he makes the money. And how frustrating is that? My husband is having a hard time accepting our son's birth injury, Erb's palsy. He's so mad and angry at the world and everyone in it to the point where it's draining me mentally. He's always complaining about little things like baby's fart smelling, baby blowing raspberries and spitting on him, baby drooling on him. Like, oh my God, this is what babies do and it's normal. When he comes home, he's not even excited to see our son. I'll literally have to ask him to come say hi to him or take him so that I can have a break. I'm a stay-at-home mom. He will rant about people at work non-stop and says he hates incompetent people. This comes from the incompetent midwife who injured our child. Besides the injured arm, our baby is thriving and don't know why he can't be happy with the good part. I'm so tired and overwhelmed by emotions, dealing with postpartum issues and just life in general, and he's adding to it. Therapy is not an option for him because he thinks therapists are scammers. I've had a very difficult labor and I'm still traumatized by it. I can't even look at pregnancy photos or baby's first pictures in the hospital. That's how deep it is for me. But I'm staying positive for the sake of my baby and focus on this recovery, but my husband is making it difficult. So I looked up what this injury was, and it's effectively like weakness or paralysis of one of the arms. And so like effectively that's like quite a minor thing in the grand scheme of things, right? Like an arm injury, like it sucks, obviously being injured isn't fun, but like it's really nothing in the grand scheme of things. And so it makes me so concerned for like, if this is his reaction to like quite a small issue that can heal and usually does, imagine what his response would be if his child had like a major disability or anything worse than this, because he's acting so ableist already for such a like minor disability. It's so worrying and so upsetting to see just like his son has one ailment where his arm is not great. Like he has an injured arm and now his dad doesn't want to talk to him or be involved with him at all and is complaining the whole time. Like, I understand being upset with the midwife because, you know, she injured your baby in the process of birth and that sucks. And you deserve to be upset with that, but that's no excuse to be taking that out on your child. There is no excuse to be doing that. And then neglecting your wife as well. That must have been a traumatizing experience. Like, giving birth is hard enough in itself. Postpartum is hard enough in itself. And then having your husband like be so negative and like not nice towards your child and like actively not being a part of the family dynamic and like giving love must be so upsetting. And not wanting to go to therapy because therapists are scammers, girl, I'm so sorry. That's so frustrating. I mean, anyone who says therapists are scammers is like a red flag to me personally. It's a bit late for that one now. This is concerning behavior because he's neglecting his son. He's neglecting you over something that, like, you know, ultimately your baby is fine. Your baby is healthy. Your baby is happy, and he deserves to have a loving, present father. He's right there, and he's actively choosing not to be because what? Neither mother nor child deserves this behavior at all. Like, this man is just not worth the time and effort. he's not worth the time and effort. If this is a response to an injury, imagine his response to anything else. It must be so upsetting to find this shit out too. Like imagine you're with someone that you love and you're having a baby together and you're so excited and you're like so excited to like have this baby and raise this baby and have this beautiful family, and then your child has like a disability and suddenly your partner decides you're not worth the time and effort. Like, how horrible is that? Like, the person that is supposed to be your support person, the parent of your child, just suddenly decides not to care for something that is like you can't help, and ultimately like doesn't have to have as much of a negative experience on your child's life as he is currently making it have. Hi everyone, I'm feeling stuck and could really use some outside perspective. I've been having a hard time with my husband and I'm not sure how to move forward. We have 3 children, ages 20 and 23, and a toddler, and things have been difficult lately. He didn't raise them. He was in prison for 15 years of their lives, and I've been the one to handle most of their upbringing. He's now the stay-at-home parent, but nothing the kids do seems to be good enough for him. They help with bills, but they could clean more. He complains that they're lazy and disrespectful for only cleaning when asked, but I believe they just need more guidance and structure. I've told him he should cherish these moments with them since he missed so much of their younger years, but he doesn't seem to appreciate this second chance. He also barely cleans or cooks, leaving me to take care of most of the household responsibilities. I feel like I'm carrying everything alone. I've tried talking to him about it, but he insists I'm enabling the kids and that it's too late for change. I also believe he has some narcissistic tendencies, which make it harder to communicate. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How do you handle a partner who's not willing to listen or work together on important issues? Girl, you were fine without him for 15 years. You can be fine without him forever. That's what I'm thinking. Like, imagine, okay, hold up. All right. Imagine, firstly, being the stay-at-home parent and not cooking and cleaning. And then on top of that, imagine being the stay-at-home parent who doesn't cook or clean and then complains that his kids are lazy for not cooking and cleaning. Exactly, guys. If your kids are lazy for not doing it and they work, mind you, what are you then? Because you don't work and you don't cook and clean. You also don't do those things without being asked. So, like, you cannot sit here and be like, these kids are useless and so lazy. They only clean when I ask them to. But you don't clean yourself? No, sir? When you're a stay-at-home parent, that's part of the job. It's part of the job. Cooking and cleaning. Like, what is the point of being a stay-at-home parent if you aren't actually doing that? Like, this poor woman having to work and cook and clean. And I know that that's the life of a working mother, but it shouldn't be when there is a stay-at-home parent. Like, you shouldn't have to do both of those things if there is someone else who is supposed to be doing that, you know? Like, that's not how this deal is supposed to go. If you're a stay-at-home parent, you do everything. And you don't get mad at your kids for not doing it. Like, I know they're in their 20s, but like, that's beside the point. If you aren't doing anything, why do you expect them to? They're also working and contributing. And also, girl, like, yeah, you were fine without him for 15 years. I promise you can do it more. And if your kids want to be in his life, they are adults. They are able to do that. They will keep in his life. If they want him to be in their life, they will make an effort to stay in contact and have a relationship with him. But presently, it really just doesn't seem worth it. This seems like way too much work for you. Like, it's more work to have him around than it is to not have him around. Leave him in the dust. That's my advice. He doesn't deserve you. Is it over if you can't stand him anymore? You hate being in his presence, the way he does everything and anything. He's so judgmental. He doesn't get me. I hate how he raises our kids. Hate, hate, hate. Hate his pride and arrogance and are so over it. There's no love anymore, but I want there to be love, I think. This is really sad. I understand being upset that a relationship has ended, but this shouldn't have to be a question. If you literally cannot stand him and you hate everything about him, yes, it is over. it is over. End the relationship and leave. Because if you have kids involved too, staying together is actually going to be more harmful and hurt them more than if you were to separate. Like, you deserve the separation, your kids deserve the separation, everyone here deserves that separation. I know that you want a relationship to last, but like sometimes they're not meant to. And relationships are significant and important regardless of how long they last and when they end. You know, a 6-month relationship is important for those 6 months that they last. A 10-year relationship is important for that 10 year that they last. You don't want to go on any further and then taint the relationship, and it already feels like that's begun to happen. It's better to end a relationship before you get to a point of resentment, because it'll taint the entire thing. And you deserve to look back on this relationship fondly and think of all the great things that came out of it, like your kids. We all grow and learn from every relationship that we have, and they are all important for whatever amount of time they are in our lives for. There is no need to hold on to a relationship that is not working anymore. There's no need to hold on to something where there is hatred and resentment. Like, you don't need it. I promise leaving will make you so much happier, and you can find someone else, or you can spend some time with yourself, which is what I would recommend. Feeling ashamed. I have to pull my young daughter from private school. I love the school and staff. It's incredible. Dad is court ordered to pay half of the tuition and no child support. I just filed to get child support because I have her 90% of the year. Even with splitting the tuition, I can't afford it because my job insurance almost doesn't cover my insulin and pump supplies for my type 1 diabetes. It's going from costing me $100 a month to $600. I don't make enough. I feel terrible. I feel like I'm the worst mother, not being able to make enough to send her to school I like and she is used to. If I ration my insulin long term, I'll die. Then 2 kids won't have a mom. So I can't justify cutting back on insulin to pay for her school. I just feel like a totally shit mom who can't provide. This is so upsetting. Firstly, the US makes me so mad because what do you mean $100 a month for insulin, which is with health insurance, and it's going up to $600 a month for a medicine that you literally will die without? You have to spend $600 a month with insurance? That makes me so sad. That's so much money. I earn pretty decent money and I would not be able to afford that. Like, that's fucked up. That's so fucked up. The fact there's no prescription cap or anything, like the fact that insulin is so cheap and they sell it for that high when you literally will die without it, makes me so mad. Like, for context of, because I don't know what the US think prescriptions cost in other places, here in the UK, prescription cap is every prescription pretty much costs £9.80, which is equivalent to about $14. No matter what it is, it's £9.80. Back home in New Zealand, a prescription is either free or it's $5. And you can get a 3-month supply at a time, depending on what it is. $600 for something like life-saving that you need every month? I'm so fucking sorry. I'm so sorry. And then on the whole tuition thing, absolutely not your fault. Your ex-husband, if he was paying for the school before, why can he not continue to pay for it now? I think it's so cruel to punish your ex by punishing your child. If he was able to pay for the school fees and now that you are divorced and he has less custody, he doesn't want to pay it anymore, he's a bad person and you made the right decision to end the relationship. Because, like, me personally, it doesn't matter how much you get to see your kid or not, you should want the best life for them. And if he was able to pay for that schooling before, I don't know why he'd want to stop now. Like, taking that education away from his daughter, taking that stability, her friends, the life that she, like, knows and has built, like, taking that away just because you want to punish your wife and make her choose between the education she wants for her kid and her fucking life, you're a bad person. I understand if maybe financially, like, you know, he's no longer to afford it. Maybe, like, he lost his job. But that doesn't seem to be the case here. The case seems to be that because she has custody 90% of the time, he doesn't have to pay more, so he won't. And that's fucked up. Because I don't think it should matter. I think you should want to cover your child's education if you can afford to, whether you see her regularly or not. But, you know, maybe that's just me. I'm going to put a trigger warning here for abuse and threats of suicide. If you don't want to listen to this conversation or it's going to be triggering for you, please skip to the timestamp up on the screen. I want to include this just because it is close to home for me. And I think that it's something that needs to be discussed and talked about. And I saw it and couldn't not talk about it. So I'm going to read this post and then we are going to have a conversation. 1 week after my tubal removal surgery last year from a cryptic pregnancy, which I almost died from, I was scrolling through my grown man's TikTok. I saw in his direct messages on this app he had been talking to multiple different girls, telling them how pretty and sexy they were. This was the first of many times I had caught him doing this. While we were fighting, he threatened to kill himself because he is just a piece of shit anyways. Words from him. Fast forward a couple months and I see on Snapchat that he had made a new account under his phone number, and when he got home from work, I grabbed his phone to check it out. I logged out of his normal Snap and onto his new one and saw just one person, his fucking ex. They'd been talking and hanging out for weeks. I confronted him and he did not like that. He grabbed a knife and locked himself in our bedroom and threatened to kill himself once again. I won't get into all the details or this will become a whole book. Anyways, 2 days after that and we are kind of fine again. I grab his phone because I noticed his bank account was getting very low and he hasn't made any big purchases. I log in and see many charges to OnlyFans. I bring this up right away while we were in the car and he started driving erratically. Like to the point where he almost crashed multiple times, screaming at me and telling me he was going to kill himself once again. Okay, fast forward to last week. I had a miscarriage 3 weeks ago at 11 weeks. I'm scrolling through his Facebook and see all these porn accounts he follows, and obviously I start to cry. I've already been through so much, and at this point, I'm about to give up. We yell and fight, and he leaves. Comes back, sweets talks me back in, and we've been kind of fine, I guess. Anyways, I just feel like I'm waiting for it to happen again to finally say get the fuck out and never come back. Because it's the same broken promise over and over again. I just came on here to vent, lol, because I have nobody to go to with this stuff. This broke my heart so much, and I feel like it's so important to say that it is never okay to threaten someone with suicide, ever, under any circumstances. That is not an appropriate response to anything. If someone says to you that something you have said or done means that they're going to go kill themselves, that is abuse. That is emotional manipulation and it is abuse. It's not okay. It is never okay. This is something that has been said to me by multiple people throughout my life and has put me in therapy at a very young age. And it has taken me years and years and years to overcome that and work through that. It is one of the sole causes of so much anxiety that I have. It fucks you up. It fucks you up so bad. And it is absolutely never ever okay to say to anyone. And I also have to say, like, if someone threatens you with suicide, especially when they're doing it in response to you just expressing yourself, if you say to someone, like, what you've just done has upset me, and their response, instead of communicating and listening and trying to be better, is like, okay, well, I guess I'm a piece of shit, I'm going to kill myself. That's straight up just emotional abuse. That's straight up emotional manipulation. It's not wanting to take any accountability. It's not listening to you. It's not caring about you. It's just wanting to punish you and hurt you in the worst way possible for daring to have any emotion or any negative feeling towards them. They are weaponizing suicide, and that is not okay. And obviously, like, you know, she's in this relationship and she's saying, I'm waiting for it to happen again, so I'll leave. But I'm almost certain she will have said this about every single instance. It is never going to change. It's not going to stop. Once it happens once, I know it's so easy to convince yourself, like, he's apologized, he's going to change, he's not going to do it again. Once you forgive it once, they're going to keep pushing it and keep doing it. And it is not going to stop. It's not going to stop. And it's important to know because a lot of the time they also use it, if you leave me, I will kill myself, which gets a lot of people to stay in abusive relationships because what a scary threat that is. You're the only reason I'm alive. If you leave, I'll have nothing to live for and I'll kill myself. Like, to that I say, they won't. Firstly, they won't. And if they do, it is not your fault. It is absolutely not your fault. They chose to end their life as one final way to punish you. They want you to live with that pain and guilt forever, and that is their decision. That is not something you did. If someone hurts themselves or kills themselves and tells you that it's your fault, it's just a form of emotional manipulation and abuse and torment, and it is never your fault. In this situation of using it as a threat, it is not your fault. If someone tells you that your actions are going to make them do that in a situation where you were just like expressing yourself, it's not your fault. It's never your fault. Please do not blame yourself. And if they hurt themselves in any way to show how serious they are, they're still fucking bluffing. They're trying to lure you in and keep you there because they know that you're afraid and they know that you will blame yourself for them taking that action to hurt themselves. And once again, not your fault. And if they did decide to take it further, also not your fault. And I know I've said not your fault so many fucking times right now, but I really need to hammer it home because it took me, I don't know, 10 years maybe to finally get that through my head. And I think I would still struggle if someone were to say it to me again. So I just need to hammer it so hard into your skulls right now that if this is something you hear, you need to leave. If this is something that you ever feel the desire to threaten, you really need to think about your actions and remove yourself from that relationship because you need to take time to sort yourself out because you are not in a position to be in a relationship right now. It is not okay to threaten suicide. Ever. And that doesn't matter if it's coming from a friend, from a romantic partner, from a family member. None of that fucking matters. It is never, ever okay. And if someone does that to you, I really hope you're able to remove yourself from the situation because it's not okay. The comments on this post were also so overwhelmingly supportive in the way of telling her, like, this is not okay, this is abuse. Like, you are being emotionally abused, you're being taken advantage of. Like, you need to get out. I hope you find somewhere safe. Like, there are 134 comments on this, like, offering her support and telling her that she needs to remove herself from the situation. And that made me so glad because if that weren't the case, I would have had to comment on it. Because she really needs to hear that and to know that. And I think everyone needs to hear that and know that because sometimes, like, you are unaware by how bad it is until people tell you. Like, you do just accept it as a normal thing, you know? Like, when you hear something enough times, like, you tell yourself that it's normal. That is a threat that I had heard from adults in my life when I was a child. So when I got it in my, like, romantic relationship, it was kind of like a, you know, this is something to expect out of relationships kind of experience. And understanding and learning that, like, that's not okay and, like, that is actually abuse and it's, like, pretty bad abuse too, is something that I think a lot of people don't realize because it's hard to admit that to yourself and it's hard to acknowledge. Like, acknowledging that you're being abused is such a difficult thing. So I just really wanted to tell you because it seems obvious, but it's unfortunately not, you know? So yeah, I'm really glad that this group does offer actual support in amongst, like, some of the mayhem and the chaos that exists here. I was very pleased to see that and I'm glad that this woman is getting a lot of support on this post and I hope that she is able to get herself out and find somewhere safe. Overall, this Facebook group was not really what I was expecting. I was kind of taken aback by it. Like, I left out most of the posts. Like, there's so many more posts that are so tragic and upsetting. I had, like, multiple breakdown moments where I was like, oh my God, I'm looking at what my future could have been and it, like, shattered me a little bit. So I didn't include those because I didn't feel like crying today. Well, I didn't feel like crying anymore today. I finished Sunrise on the Reaping this morning and was sobbing my heart out. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on, like, some books that I've been reading, because I've been really into books, and Sunrise on the Reaping I'm planning to make a video about, then please do go subscribe to my second channel. It's Kiwi with a Q. I've started making some, like, book content over there because I'm really into reading and I want to make some fun videos. So if you are interested in that, please do go subscribe over there. I would love to see you over there. And while speaking of subscribing, please do not forget to hit subscribe here as well. I am here 3 times a week and I would love to see you again. Subscribing really, really helps me out, like, truly. I'm trying to hit 500k by the end of the year and over 50% of you are regular viewers but are not subscribed. So if you could, I appreciate it so much. A huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons. Bobby, Ellie, Chris, Samuel, Knitting Menace, Radsack, Mr. Noodle, Lady Nutbar, Ella, Queen Glimmer, River, Phenomenally, Jessie, Phil the Duck, Uh-Oh It's Craig Lowe, Blaze, Blue Kitsune 24, M.A. Ping the Games, Joy, L. James D, Prismatic, and Beckett. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like to join my Patreon, then please go to patreon.com/savvycat. It starts at £1 a month and I appreciate it greatly. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.
close your eyes, you replace